let's draw something. Let's draw something and then paint something. I want us to start small so that y'all can see exactly how fun watercolors are. There's something special about watercolors and mixing colors and allowing water to speak for itself and flow that is a huge stress reliever. So with that, let us get started. I am going to draw first. I may flip the camera around. I saw that it was upside down, so I may do a 180 so that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. But some of the let's see, these are the pens that I have, and they're different sizes. As you can see, this one's a very, very small size. I think I'm gonna go with something a little thicker, and that's funny that I know you're gonna be like, that doesn't look like it's thicker, but it is. Because this is the 0.5. This is a very small one. You can actually barely see the, when you write with it, you can barely see some of the lining, so it's good for textures. And let us begin. Let's see, who else do we have here doing art in the chat? What did you bring with you today? And by bringing, I mean either your ideas, the type of paper that you have, the type of supplies that you're drawing with today. Okay, definitely it's upside down. So let's switch the camera angle. And don't worry if it looks real simple now. That's the whole point. Like, to just enjoy the art that you're doing. And we're not trying to have this end up in a museum over here. Let's see. We're going to transform, rotate 180. Yay! Okay, there you go. Now you can see now you can see from like my angle. Yep. If y'all hadn't guessed yet, this is a pumpkin. This is the startings of a pumpkin. Make this pumpkin too big. Let's make it a tall, skinny pumpkin, so we don't overexert our ideas, shall we? There we go. And this isn't going to be a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. This is going to be a colorful fall pumpkin. So when you're drawing a pumpkin, it's a bunch of lines. That's all it really is. You're going to add some shading that's going to make it look more realistic. However, this is the shtick to drawing a fun pumpkin. You've seen these little, you've created your center circle. That's the front piece, right? And all that means is it's not curving one way. It's not curving the other way. You've just kind of broken down a pumpkin into smaller shapes. That's all it did. And it gave it this look of 3D effect. Now, the thing is that a pumpkin, especially if you're looking at it a bit more top down, you can see that it normally curves around, right? Curves around the back. Now, I like to draw it after drawing my little pumpkin, because this is stuff that's in front, right? You've got maybe a stem, some squiggly vines if you wanted to keep that, maybe a little pumpkin leaf over here. And that's not bad to try to include some leaves. Then we're gonna maybe add that background. I feel like this is more difficult because I don't normally draw skinnier pumpkins. But I'm gonna just fill in wherever I feel like it wants a background. Now, watercolor, it's gonna fill in a lot of these gaps. So it's really not that big of a deal if you didn't get these things perfect. And I would in fact stress not to, because the more details or perfection you try to add, it's gonna frustrate you. It is. So here we are. We've got our the makings and startings of a pumpkin and watercolor. Now, this is what's fun about these. I am going to color this pumpkin what I would like to call non-traditional colors. There are pumpkins that do exist in non-traditional and non-orange colors. We're gonna do some of that. We might actually go outside of that to a little bit more abstract as well, but we can do that, right? The fun thing about these markers and this brand that I got, I don't think there's very many companies who make these, so I'm gonna just share the whole Oops, I should have done it right side up, huh? Chromatech. They're definitely on Amazon. They're a newer art brand, but they're tipped. I might have just wore one out last night because I forgot to tip it back when I was working on something. So sad. I think that we should include some green. I see something called Persian green. It looks kind of bluish, to be fair. If you have any color suggestions, shoot them at me. Purple is always great to include because purple is the color that you will add to almost any other color to create shadows, shading. Shadows and shading is typically not grays, browns, blacks, although it can be, and those are great colors to use to supplement your shadows. You add purple to something and it creates a shadow and shading. So I always like to have at least one, if not two types of purple. This one's called Byzantine, depending on what part of the world you're from. I think that with the purple and the blue, we should still have a little orange because otherwise you're gonna be like, is this even a pumpkin, darling? I've got ginger and I've got tangerine. I feel like tangerine's not it, just because it's called tangerine. Another color that I picked up is called flesh. That makes me uncomfortable for this project. I should stop looking at the names, huh? Plain old orange. That's what we need. I do like tangerine though, just for some accents. Okay, so let's head over. We've got our a good amount of oranges. All right, so we're gonna have our orange bases, but I've included some fun colors here. Oh, you know what? I still need a green though, like a true green for the stem and whatnot. I found like that's not green enough, but yeah, that's because it's called pear yellow. There you go. This is just green. Good old fashioned green. Okay, so let us get started. And this will not seem like watercolor yet at all. And that's what's fun about it. Does anybody remember those doodads that you could play with as a kid? They were like little coloring books. And you had to use either water or a very specific marker on the pages, and then the drawing, the colored part would come forth. Do y'all remember this? That's what these markers remind me of, and it's why I like them so well. You can do a fast piece, you can take your time, come back to a piece and keep adding layers. This song I like. What is this one? Homespun. Can we give it a thumbs up? Yes. Okay. Finally finding some music on this app that I like. I like me some blues, almost like coffee shop music, I guess you'd call it here in the US. I know what you call it somewhere. I loved those. Yes. Okay. So that's what these markers remind me of. And for what they cost me, I wouldn't want to put such a simple explanation on these. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's one person who created this company, and you don't want small companies to feel like, well, maybe they were trying to make something childish. I don't know. I shouldn't put that kind of expectation on there. But that being said, let's back up a little bit. I feel like you can get a lot more professional results with what's a really simple application process, because again, this just looks like a marker. And the reason why I don't want you to get too worried about the details in the drawing is, you see the tips of these? They're pretty well, I'm using textured paper as well, but they don't make very clean lines sometimes. Look at that. Oops, I went outside the lines. What you gonna do, darling? This color was darker than I thought. You notice this? Like, this should have been one of the outer colors. And don't worry, when that type of thing happens, just go with it. So actually what I'm going to do is say maybe this whole pumpkin's base is that color. And I'm just going to kind of blend it. And you see how I'm using the side of this marker? I'm actually just adding a light bit of it. That one got a heavier coat, huh? and it's shading a little bit. It's actually added some in here a little bit more than not by using the side of the marker. See, this perfect example right there. This whole little drawing right here is this big. We're not doing anything crazy. We're starting with a little pumpkin. So don't overthink your drawings when you wanna work on something in the background. Sometimes it's just really good for your brain to get to relax, right? And that's what I mean by in the background. It's like these are doodles. And you just doodle on the one thing until you're like, ah, okay, I'm done. But I did a skull recently. This reminds me of an old pumpkin drawing I once made. Let me try to find it. Ooh, yay! Yes, please share. These art streams are going to be very low key. We may be artists and designers in here. We may be first time artists, right? But we're mainly doing this to encourage our own just de-stressing. This is the point of nerd glasses. It's honestly was for me. It was for me to try to figure out how to de-stress in my life. And I want to just thank all of y'all who've decided to stick around for this journey, because this is not the same nerd who started streaming. Y'all remember the first one who was like, oh my goodness, ah. I still get like that sometimes. The very nervous theater me gone out the window like I didn't expect. You get nervous when you first start live streaming. All right, look at that. Beautiful. I didn't add any black. I didn't take away. I just added some purple, and look how it changed the depth of that area. We're gonna add some shading around it, right? Because your pumpkin curves, and you're like, oops, sorry. We're like, what happened to all that nice coloring that we had? Don't worry, it'll be there. It's mixing together, darling. And this is where we get to actually get messy with these. So I know that the background of this stuff would be darker, right? Because we're looking at it from an angle. So even if we do see the top of the back of the pumpkin, it's going to add a little darkness to it. But yeah, I did that skull. And that skull I didn't intend on being very fallish whatsoever. But it did. Skulls around the fall time, it just ends up being that way. And I figured I could maybe turn that into a big cluster collage later if I do some other fall pieces with it. So after this pumpkin, we might do another piece. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how long it takes us. Oh my goodness. We've already been doing this for 42 minutes. Okay, so I've added some purple. And for fun, okay, we're gonna add the green. And we're just gonna slap that green on there. Nothing too much. I like to do some parts heavier, and you see how I didn't even color some of that in. I might add a little bit more on the outside. I like to line things. If you notice, you'll see why. It's all there's a method to this madness, darling. I've been working with these for I think a year now. I'm probably due some new colors, and by new colors I think I gotta buy a whole new set. Now look at that. I threw on some blue. How crazy is that? But if we're gonna do a pumpkin on the nerd channel, we gotta add a little something, right? Okay, not everywhere. We don't want to overwhelm the whole pumpkin. Okay. This is how they become watercolor. They're already watercolor, but when I first started the stream, you saw these little plastic pens. They're clear. Right before stream, I filled these with water. One of them I did not fill with water all the way. It could do with some water. But these are the watercolor pens. This one did not get cleaned very well, so I'm gonna have to clean this one a little bit. But these are just like pens, except you're gonna squeeze water into here and mix it already there. So you've already put your paint down, right? You don't have to worry about what paint's gonna go where, what color to use next. All you gotta do is play with water like it's kindergarten on the last day of school, and you just get to have fun. You've already done all the hard work. So I am going to pick, I'm gonna pick I have a couple here. They're all different shapes, but I have a couple that I use more often than not, and you can tell because they're a bit stained. So the way that I clean these is probably not the most effective way whatsoever. But it's satisfying. It's so satisfying. So I'll get a paper towel, oops, or a regular towel, and I'll squeeze water through. It also helps prime. There you go. You can see the water coming through. And this one was a little hard to get the water out, so I'm hoping I don't have to use too much. But there is the water. It starts to come out. Sometimes it'll bead up. Don't worry. If you're using good watercolor paper or cheap watercolor paper, but just watercolor paper, you don't really have to worry about it because it'll soak up just fine. I didn't do anything special but lay some water down. It is going to continue to soak into and bleed into some of these other colors. If you're adamant, you can help some of the colors along, but it's not necessary. In fact, it's gonna mellow them out a little bit. Now if you look, it started to actually bleed some of the colors here and there, so I'm gonna just wipe my paintbrush off again. Ta-da! I think that I might have used this pen a lot. It's wore out. I want to buy some of these just separate, so if y'all find a better way, a place to buy these, y'all let me know. These came with the kit. And I don't need a ton of water over here on these other ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the water I have. And what's cool is after about 5-10 minutes, the water is dried up. You have your wonderful piece of art, and it looks completely different than that piece you had before you added the water. And see how I started with the very dark area over here? If you add water to that, do you even see it? No, let's drag it down. There you go. That was that dark area. And as I'm adding water, it soaks up into the brush, and the brush can pull it down. Ta-da! But it gives it more of an ombre effect, I guess, without doing a lot of work at all. So ta-da! There's a fancy cute little pumpkin. You can go over the area some more, but I advise to be very gentle with it because you like to keep some of your color differences. Everything blended together a whole lot better, or a whole lot more than you thought, because we actually use several different types of colors here, right? And now it looks like 1, maybe 2. And in all reality, I think we use what, 5, 6 colors. So yeah, this will look even better, like I said, once it's dried. Let me flip it around for y'all to see on the big camera. And I'm just turning it really quick because in watercolor, if you don't have very absorbent paper, what will happen is it can drip, or it can pool in one spot. You can do all sorts of fun things that will otherwise ruin your drawing. We're not at that stage anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and show y'all. It's getting green screened out a little bit, but we got ourselves a cute little 3D looking pumpkin. I will have to show this on Discord because it's getting green screened out by the big one, but there you go. So yeah, we got ourselves a little bit of art cracking off. Thanks for traveling along my art stream. Took a picture of my own pumpkin. It's not perfect. It's the best I've done so far. I want to see. Yeah.